Welcome to Idaho Fish and Game's Hook and Bulletin podcast, your weekly news roundup of hunting, fishing, trapping, and conservation stories from around the Gem State. Hosted by Fish and Game's Public Information Specialist, Connor J. Lease.
And welcome back, everyone, to Idaho Fish and Game's Hook and Bulletin podcast. It's been a busy week for hunting, fishing, trapping, and conservation stories here in Idaho. This week on the Hook and Bulletin, we'll be talking about the first round of super hunt results, how anglers can help manage invasive walleye, and even more bear news. And that's exactly where we'll start today's episode. Grizzlies, and more grizzlies. Recall back in episode 11, one wandering grizz showed up on a trail cam up in the North Fork Salmon River area near the Montana border, an area typically not known to have grizzly bears. Well, guess what? It happened again, this time down in Unit 59 along the Montana border. And no, it probably wasn't the same bear. Like the bear up near Salmon, this bear represents a rarity in this neck of the woods. The bear was photographed by a trail camera on May 31st and was clearly identified as a grizzly bear. As grizzly bear populations expand in both number and range, bears continue to venture into new areas to find food, mates, and other resources. Hunters and recreationists alike should be aware of the potential for grizzlies to be present in areas where they have not previously been seen. I know this is going to sound like a broken record, but as these types of occurrences keep happening, it's an important reminder. Living and recreating in grizzly country comes with its own responsibilities, like carrying bear spray, properly disposing your garbage in bear-resistant trash cans, and feeding your pets indoors instead of out. And it doesn't just go for grizzly bears either. Black bears can also cause trouble in urban wildland interfaces, as has been the case in yet another story coming out of the Upper Snake region, this time near Riggins. Fish and Game staff have recently received multiple reports of a sow black bear with 3 yearlings getting into unsecured garbage in and around the Riggins area. Fish and Game is working closely with community organizations to increase the outreach and education efforts in Teton Valley. Teton Valley Bearwise, Greater Yellowstone Coalition, Teton County Sheriff's Office, and RAD Curbside have all been key players in leading this effort. Here's a quick word from Regional Wildlife Manager Curtis Hendricks.
Yeah, so it's everyone's responsibility to do our part to keep both bears and people safe. As soon as a bear finds an easy meal like garbage or chicken feed or something like that, they'll continue to seek out these food rewards. And this brings them to within close proximity to humans, which doesn't end well for anybody.
There's a sad but true saying in the fish and wildlife management world: a fed bear is a dead bear. Finding food inadvertently provided by people is bad news for bears and people. And it often ends with a dead bear because when the animal finds a regular food source in neighborhoods, they become less fearful of people. Bears can grow increasingly bold and aggressive when searching for food, when their efforts result in a high-calorie reward. The consistent promise of food can cause a bear to overcome its fear of people and result in an increasingly dangerous situation, as I'll talk about a little later regarding one bear near Riggins. When a bear starts showing signs of repeatedly visiting residential food sources or has lost its wariness of people, biologists and conservation officers often have no choice but to trap and kill the bear. In cases like these, the habituated bears cannot be moved because research shows they will quickly travel long distances to seek out human food in their new locations. Luckily, there are a lot of things that people can do to prevent bears from becoming habituated, protecting both the residents in their neighborhood and the bears moving through it. The key to keeping Idaho bears wild: don't allow them access to human food sources around neighborhoods and homes. For more on how to keep bears wild and out of trouble in your neighborhood, head on over to our website or hit the link in the description to read James Brower's helpful guide on how to protect both yourself and the bears. Okay, moving on to walleye. Salmon and steelhead are valuable resources to Idaho that already face many challenges, and they don't need more, particularly from illegally introduced walleye that have been creeping up the Snake River. Walleye are voracious predatory fish that can consume young salmon and steelhead that are rearing or migrating in Idaho's rivers. Knowing how many walleye are out there is challenging without the help of anglers reporting any walleye they catch and subsequently keep. Information provided by anglers, along with a fish trap at Lower Granite Dam, indicates that walleye are moving upstream of Lower Granite in increasing numbers. The Snake River is massive, and long sections of it are difficult to access and monitor fish populations, so trying to understand what is going on with walleye is a challenge. Anglers have been key in helping biologists understand walleye distribution in these areas. Here's Fish and Game fisheries biologist Marika Dobos with more.
Anglers have been great about keeping us informed about walleye they're encountering, and we greatly appreciate that. We know it can be an inconvenience to their fishing trips, but catching, keeping, and reporting walleye is the best tool biologists have to monitor where these fish are migrating, estimating how many might be out there, and also removing some of them.
Fish and Game encourages anglers to report walleye catch with location, size, and method so that information can continue to be used to better understand walleye distribution and aid in targeting harvest effort. Moral of the story here, folks, is that Idaho and walleye just aren't a good match in most places. Walleye are native to large Midwestern lakes that have large and prolific food sources like minnows, shiners, chubs, and other small bait fish. Those bait fish are not available in most Idaho waters, so walleye are likely to eat other game fish that are highly valued by Idaho anglers. Anyone who catches a walleye in an Idaho river is asked to kill it, take a photo, and contact Idaho Fish and Game biologist Marika Dobos at the Lewiston Regional Office. Her email and phone number will be included in the description of this episode. Once again, anglers, thanks for doing your part. We know it's a few extra steps that go into your day out on the river, but it's hugely important and appreciated. All right, just when you thought we were done talking about bears, back on June 1st, after attempts to haze a black bear out of the area were unsuccessful, an Idaho Fish and Game conservation officer killed the male bear near the Riggins City Park during a large public gathering. Before it was killed, the bear had entered the park and got a little too close for people's comfort. Although Idahoans commonly see black bears in the wild, one that appears in daylight and shows little or no fear of people poses an unacceptable public safety risk. The Fish and Game conservation officer and an Idaho State police officer initially tried to haze the bear out of the area, but were forced to shoot it when it appeared likely that it was going to re-enter the crowded park. It just so happened to be the weekend of one of Riggins' largest annual events, the Big Water Blowout and Dutch Oven Cook-Off. The bear's story began back in May, when it was first observed getting into trash cans in Riggins. At that time, Fish and Game worked with the city of Riggins to spread the word about preventing access to human food sources. Unfortunately, the bear continued to have access to trash and other food, and was increasingly showing signs that it was not afraid of people, even after several residents had fired warning shots in its vicinity. Trapping and relocating the bear was unlikely to resolve the problem. It's because bears that feed on garbage and other human-produced foods often return from the relocation site or get into trouble in the area they are released in. Fish and Game and the officers involved regret that the bear needed to be dispatched, and that participants at the event unfortunately had to witness the sad scene. Here's a quote from District Conservation Officer Marshall Haynes that pretty much sums it up. Quote, "Fish and Game employees choose a career in wildlife management and conservation because they care deeply about wild animals, so the decision to euthanize animals is not one we take lightly. However, we must prioritize public safety, and given the unique circumstances of an agitated bear potentially heading towards a large crowd of people, the decision to kill the bear was the correct but unfortunate resolution. Killing this bear was an unfortunate last resort, but not nearly as tragic as if it had injured a human after we had had an opportunity to stop it." End quote. Folks, incidents like this reinforce the importance of securing human food sources from wildlife to keep wildlife wild and people safe. And as it goes to show, it doesn't matter whether you live in Riggins or Driggs for that message to hit home. Okay, that's the last story I got on bears, and hopefully the last one for a while. Moving on to the rapid fire bulletin. Yeah, I promise we'll get into some more positive news in a bit, but this next one's not for the faint of heart. Back on Memorial Day weekend, a cow elk was shot out of season east of Whitebird off of Forest Service Road 243. According to Jen Bruns' story, this stretch of road receives a fair amount of traffic from sportsmen and the public. With this particular case, no attempt was made to salvage the meat. It is probable that motorists or sportsmen noticed the shooter's vehicle near the intersection of Banner Ridge and Free Use Road and could offer information leading to the arrest of those responsible. Anyone with information about these poaching incidents is encouraged to call the Citizens Against Poaching hotline at 1-800-632-5999 or reach Fish and Game Senior Conservation Officer Ethan Bishop directly at 208-799-5010. Anyone providing information can remain anonymous. Hey, some exciting news. The draw results for the first round of Super Hunt applications have officially been announced. Roughly 130,000 hunters applied for the first Super Hunt drawing. And for those of you who missed the boat or didn't draw in the first round, there will be a second chance to win a Super Hunt tag later this year. The entry period for the second drawing goes through August 10th, where tags for 2 elk, 2 deer, 2 pronghorn, 1 moose, and 1 Super Hunt combo will be drawn. For more information, including frequently asked questions and photos of previous winners, go visit Idaho Fish and Game's Super Hunt webpage. Treasure Valleyans, be sure to buzz on over to the MK Nature Center to celebrate pollinators on Saturday, June 15th. This family-friendly event will be held at the MK Nature Center, which is located at 600 South Walnut Street in Boise. The event runs from 10 to 3 and the cost is $5 per person, ages 3 and over. Members of the Treasure Valley Beekeepers Club will also be on hand to show visitors how to raise your own honeybees. Tours of the observation beehive will provide folks with a close-up look at the activity inside a hive, and in addition, come enjoy some honey tasting and take a look at bees through a microscope. It's a great opportunity for you and the kiddos to come learn about Idaho's native bees and the important role they play in our ecosystems, including their importance for wildlife. You can learn more at Fish and Game's MK Nature Center webpage. Hit the link in the description. And last but not least, remember I had some pretty crappy news back in episode 7 when the Deer Creek Reservoir toilet shut down? Well, ladies and gentlemen, hold on to your drawers. The new and improved vaulted toilet structure is back, it's real, and it's spectacular. If you don't believe me, go see for yourself. Fish and Game's Fishing and Boating Access Foreman, Kevin Jones, said, quote, "Projects like these can really enhance the experience for our local anglers. The old toilet structure had seen some wear and was ready to be replaced," end quote. And I think the term wear is putting it lightly. That's about it on that story. If you wanted to see what the toilet looked like back in its heyday, head on over to our website and check out a wonderful before and after time lapse of photos in Jen Bruns' story. And while you're over there, maybe take a look at the fishing planner and check out the 75-acre Deer Creek Reservoir in Clearwater County next time you're looking for an excuse to wet a line. All right, that's it for this week's stories. It's time for our question of the week. Now, this is one we've been seeing a few times already, and thanks to the folks who've reached out on social media with this question. For those asking, quote, "When can I expect to see results for the first round of controlled hunts?" The answer is going to be no later than July 10th. Hope that helps out. And that's all the news we have for this week. Thanks for putting an ear to Idaho Fish and Game's Hook and Bulletin. If there's something on your mind or if you got a question related to fish and game matters, feel free to drop us a line at podcast@idfg.idaho.gov. Again, that's podcast@idfg.idaho.gov. Thank you so much for listening, folks. We'll catch you next week.